Hey mate, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks.
Welcome on.
Managed to get back a bit late, but yeah, all good, all ready now.
It's all right. Is that your work kit, is it?
Yeah, I had to finish something off before I left. We've got an audit tomorrow, so
All right.
all the good stuff.
Nice. Nice. All right. You slowly catching up to me, mate?
It's pretty unreal, the podcast league this year. Like, there's
Oh,
about
so
10
high.
people in the top 1,000 and five of them top 100 now.
Who went
It's
really
so
well
good.
last year? Just like Eddie? Anyone else?
I think this is the first year a lot of people have knuckled down and got a really good rank.
Right.
I think it sort of helped them look at what everybody else is doing. But yeah, I know Eddie got a good rank. I think CCW got a good rank.
Yeah,
That's the
okay.
Christopher C up the top,
Yeah,
not
they're
the
always
Christopher C down
so
the
they're always
bottom.
up there, hey?
Cookie usually gets about 500, 600, 1,000 rank, but I don't think anybody else like really was way up the top.
Right. So it's basically the similar people that are doing well, I suppose.
Yep.
TK's always somewhere there. What was he last year? Couple hundred? 300?
Oh, I can't remember now. Have to
Something
look
like
it
that.
up.
Yeah. You weren't that great either, were you? You're like me.
No, I basically destroyed my season in about round 14 or 15 or 16 when I brought in all those Reed Marnie, Tyson Frizzell, Lachlan Fitzgibbon, all that, just as they got injured or suspended or bashed their heads or ribs or whatever. And
Right.
yeah, then the death blow was Mulatalo, just as Wade Graham came back and absolutely stifled him.
Last year, yeah, right. I can't remember
Yeah.
that. You do. Oh, God. All right, so we're going to kick it off. Actually, going to bring up your team first. We'll just have a little discussion, and then a quick thing on just the who's hot, who's not. I just wanted to focus on Drinkwater. It's like he's the most sold player, which is interesting. So, and then we're just going to go to the top teams and just have a look at trade situation, and then just get into all the players as normal. If that's cool.
Yep.
Cool. Why are you not working? One moment. It's an Umby podcast. It's very hit and miss. Start, please. Okay, we're good. Ladies and gents, Scoop is here in his delightful work attire. Welcome, mate. How you doing?
Hey, how are you? I'm going pretty well.
Very good. All right, we're heading into round 24. My goodness, we have 4 rounds to go. And Scoop's catching. He got me by almost 50 this week and is still a little bit behind, which is good. I got a 49 lead on him, which is a decent amount, but he obviously saw he could climb that back in 1 week. And pretty much most of the podcasters in that top sort of 8 to 10 did pretty well, got over that 1100, right? And tell us a little bit about your week. I know Greg Marzu was kind of the main issue, wasn't he? Thankfully, he got to try and claw it back a little bit.
Oh, mate, I was absolutely fuming at halftime. He was like 4 points.
Yeah.
I'd gone away for a bit and I was like, what happened? Where is he? And I scrolled down to the bottom and there he was. But yeah, look, not a fantastic game and one that I thought he might. But I mean, he's versus the Bulldogs. Maybe it's a bounce back week. Who knows? But yeah, it was a monster week. Hey, I don't think we've really had a week like that since 2021 when everybody was running around getting hundreds for fun during the 6 again. So yeah, it was probably my biggest score in a long time, 1156. And the late Munster updates and a few others really bumped me up, which was good. Ticked me over up to 97. So I've got 3 trades. Probably should have had 4, but I moved Lemuelu onto Cheese for some mid hooker cover.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Solid looper. But yeah, with him getting good minutes with Turpin, like playing less than 10 minutes off the bench, I thought that might be good, especially with Sandon Smith on the bench instead of Drew Hutchinson. But unfortunately, the opposite was true. So he's probably just going to sit in my emergencies until probably round 27 when my Eels guys go.
Okay, that's frustrating in the end, especially when Lem did pretty well. You probably wouldn't have played him or close to it anyway, but he still did really well to have, Penasini's 35, along with DCE and Munster both going under what they should be scoring. Very, very good week. Being able to put IPAP in 7. I think that was my main issue with it, is that he's fairly highly owned, probably half the top 1,000 or something, but there's also a bunch of people like yourself that could pop him in the emergencies and not play him. So it was a frustrating one, but it's good to see a team like yourself has plenty of depth in there, which is nice. Obviously, with Munro not being there anymore, and also Harrison Graham, might have a little bit of a tough time in certain weeks. But I'm just trying to poke holes in your team so I can beat you, right?
Yeah, I think the main issue is who I'm going to play each week between Madison and IPAP. Last week, I had to drop one of them because Manu scored 68 in the loop, and Madison starting, I think it was really helpful because not too many people own him. That was a 30-point gap. But this week, him back on the bench, I don't know what to make of it. I'll have a bit of head scratching before I make the decision. So with my team, I think I'm probably going to hold this week because I do not have Drinkwater or any Cows players. I think I will just loop guys like Garrick versus the Panthers and see how I go from there, and then really hammer it home in that Rabbitohs buy and that Eels buy when there's a few players out.
I didn't realize. Did you trade Drinkwater?
Yes, I went Drinkwater to Latrell
last week,
the other week, so that I could fund Jack DeBellin to Cleary, and it worked out pretty well.
Was it 2 weeks ago? Or last week?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. There you go. We're up against each other in the Gargarov Champions League, mate, in the first round.
Oh,
it's very cool.
Good.
Some tough matchups in there. That's for sure. It's a really strong league. Hey, so we were, I think, second and third, if I'm correct. I'm in second in that one. So it's 2v3. We obviously get the second chance, whoever loses, but that's going to be a fun one. We obviously got a few pods between each other, so that should be a really cool matchup. How you going in all the rest of your head-to-heads?
Well, I won most of them last week, but I did get belted by Eddie in one of them with his 11.90.
Yeah.
He's clear of the top of the podcasters league now, so it'll be tough to bring down.
Yeah, you done well.
But yeah, it's really the point of which Cowboys do you own and are they worth selling? Like, there's not many Broncos you probably want to sell, but there is argument that you could sell pretty much anyone on the other buys, like a couple of Rabbitohs and definitely Eels if you have any in that last round.
If you have any trades, that's too. Let's go to the who's not list. I just want to focus on Scott Drinkwater. He's at the top of that list at almost 1% traded out. Is he someone that obviously you did trade him out a few weeks ago, but if you own him now and you had sort of a couple of trades left, would you look to move him on or would you be holding steady?
Look, I don't mind it as an option, but it's not for somebody who doesn't have at least a couple of trades left. I wouldn't make it your last trade, that's for sure. So I think Scott Drinkwater might have had some strapping on his calf last game as well. So that may sway a few people if you're looking to go and have an excuse to go Scott Drinkwater to Latrell, for example, which saves you about 70, 80K, and get Latrell versus Dragons this week. That could be something that really works out. You just got to make sure you don't have too many rabbits for that buy, and that you've got a strong enough wing fullback that Drinkwater coming back, possibly refreshed off that buy, isn't going to hurt you when he returns.
Yeah, against Sharkies and Dolphins for sure. I had a little tinker with it because I only got the one trade left, and it's like, oh, this could be cool. I could trade someone who's so expensive, and that's the big reason you moved him on, right? Just because he got to a really high price, and you wanted to get Cleary with the 6 trades, obviously.
Yeah, he was definitely the elite wing fullback for the last 2 months or so. He was averaging close to 70 in that time period. But then I saw that he had a couple of tougher matchups in the run home, and he was priced near enough 60, 65.
853.
And Latrell with a soft run home could pretty much match him at 100K less.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was enough justification to be able to go Jack DeBellin to Cleary, and Cleary is pretty much a must.
That sounds a bit of a no-brainer at this point anyway, for sure. So I just think, in that position, I'm looking at I could potentially trade him and get better points this week if I went him to Isaiah Yeo or him to a Payne Haas. Obviously, something like that could be really cool. Or to Latrell, but then that leaves me with Murray as well in that round 26. But yeah, that's probably the biggest thing there is that, okay, I then get down to 0 trades, and yes, I get better points this week, but then I am lacking a little bit more wing fullback cover. And there's just a lot of questions with it. And it's like, well, if you've got one trade left, probably even two trades, it's just worth holding him because he can go boom against, especially the Sharkies and the Dolphins. Then depending, that Penrith game might not be as bad for him, right? Because the Cowboys are going to be fighting for the 8 and Penrith might be resting their players. So it's definitely something to think about with Scotty there for sure. But I just thought he was a bit too highly pushed out. That's for sure. Just have a look at it. I just want to go through a few of the trade scenarios, or those amount of trades left for some of the top squads, and just give you a general idea of where the best teams are in the comp and how that can compare to you, especially if you're still playing overall. If you are in a head-to-head comp, obviously, coming into either last week was the first week of your finals or this week here. So you still want to be carrying a fair few trades if you're in a head-to-head league, right? If this is a round 1 or round 2 for you, Scoop, would you be looking to have sort of 4+ at this point?
If you were wanting to have comfortable trading for these last couple, because you will need to trade out your grand final guys, whereas overall you don't necessarily have to, I definitely would prefer to have like 3 or 4 for these last 3 or 4 weeks. Latrell out in potentially your grand final could be a very big blow. So trading Drinkwater to Latrell back to Drinkwater, it seems like a lot of a waste unless you do have quite a lot and the ability to do luxury trades like that.
Yeah.
So it really depends on where your depth sits at as to which trade you can potentially make for those guys who are elite but potentially on buys like Murray, Haas, Latrell, and Drinkwater this week.
Yep. That's something to note as well. It's just having a look at your opponent as well and where their team's at and where likely you might need to improve. So it could be a certain week like, oh, if I can make this upgrade in this week against this certain player, then maybe that can help you beat them. Because obviously you do need to get through these rounds, right? It's not, it's all well and good holding trades for the last 2 rounds of your league, but if you don't make them, then there's no real point, right? So making sure that when you get your opponent, like we've just found out that we're versing each other in that Gargarov comp, that you know that you can really match up against that player really well. So just having a few thoughts around that is going to be really important. So let's get into the overall side of it then, with Booze Clues up top with 1 trade remaining. That's going to be pretty normal for a lot of these guys. I believe the average in the top 1,000 is 2.1 trades, courtesy of yet another fantasy sports site. We have the guy in second, the Elite RL, has 0 left. In third, Beaver has 3. We have Brenton with 2. We have 0 for the next fella. Great Warman, 2. Okay, so the best we've seen is 4 so far. So if you're anywhere around that sort of 3 to 4 mark, it shows you probably have a little bit of a leg up against some of these potential teams. We're into 2 there, 1 there, another 2. So yeah. Oh wow, the Woolly Bulls in 14th overall has 8 trades remaining. Wow.
Yeah, I was looking at him as a potential late season come and get it at the death, but I think he's left it too late. He slipped a few ranks, I think he needs to make up like 100 points a week, which, you just can't really do.
Yeah, wow. Some good trades the last bunch of weeks. So we had I traded Tarpany, but Tarpany to Cleary, Chance to Dunster. But then from there, Nelson to Cam Murray, Jack DeBellin and Brennan Hands to Gagai and Mitchell. That's pretty spicy. That's right up your alley, isn't it, Skip?
Yeah, I love Gagai. I was a bit surprised that some of the Knights didn't do as well against the Dolphins last week.
Yeah, just a slow start, just in that first half. Eddie's got the 1 trade left, just for context, and then we'll be able to. You just snuck in the top 100, didn't you?
Yeah.
Which is good.
Updates got me from 102nd to 97th, which I was pretty stoked.
Yeah, you're in there. And then the Jamie Brown Enjoyer still kicking in 88th with 2 trades left, so that's good. There's a few JBFAs in there, so we should shout them out while we're here. I know Gumby's AFG Gumby's in there. Who's in ours? What do we got? There's a few of them I went past them just before.
Adorable Rossa
early on, who we've shouted out plenty, that's for sure. There's one I just passed. Anyway, this is great content. Just scrolling through. That's right. All right, we'll move on. But yeah, that just shows, guys, if you're sitting anywhere around that 3 trades mark, you probably will make a lot of ranks, no matter where you are. If you're like anywhere around the 3, 4, 5,000, if you've got trades remaining now, I think you're going to fly through. So, yeah, go hard basically, and then try and get as good of a rank as possible, because that's the biggest part, guys. Just trying to beat your ranking from the year before, or just trying to really be a consistent coach, because then you can tell people it's all about bragging rights, right? I'm a top 1,000 guy. I'm a whatever. I'm going well. I'm consistent. So Yeah, good stuff. And big thanks to everyone for still watching at this point. I've seen the views drop a little bit, but I seem to see that I've got still that good 1,000, 1,500 sort of people that are regularly watching. We still had 3,500 watching this one last week. So yeah, thanks for supporting Scoop and I, which is really, really cool. All right. Latrell Mitchell, 728. Is he still worth it for you with these couple? He's got 3 matchups to go. Dragons, Knights, and Roosters with a bye the second to last week. That's really nice matchups, isn't it? And would it still be worth it for you, even with one or two trades left?
I think if you've got more than one trade left, you can look at it because, I mean, look, the Rabbits have not been good in the last 4 to 6 weeks. They've kind of been clunky. Nothing has quite clicked. But if there's going to be a week that they're going to click and that they have to win to make the top 8 and start to blow opponents out of the water like they were early season, it's going to be against the Dragons. So, in all honesty, buy Latrell Mitchell this week or pretty much just leave him for the season, because after this week, you'll have 1 week, then the bye, and then one other week. Like the longer you wait, the less fraction of games you're going to get, and the less the appeal is.
And he needs to go nuts, doesn't he, with them really fighting for that 8. So 55 average this year pretty much puts him as the best wing fullback at the moment. It's a mixture between him, Drinkwater, Teddy, and Drinky's not playing this week. So I think if the Latrell can go nuts, he can really set you apart this week. So yeah, definitely something that I've looked at, but if I had more trades, I'd be able to actually really think about it. Jordan Rapana is a very interesting one, isn't he? 464k, moves into the fullback slot, and he's someone that has a really nice fullback average. He's obviously very up and down. He has 100 in there, and he has some sort of, he's a 26 and a 30 last year. And that's why I didn't really look at it coming into last week, but he was able to get a 53 without a try, and a 464k now with Seb Chris out for the year, unfortunately, with his hamstring or close to it. Rapana keeps that spot now. Is there any interest in obviously that price at 464? If you can't get to like a Jacob Carraz, is Rapana a solid option as like you can pretty much, like my own team, for example, if for those that have Drinkwater out and are holding him, I have Brendan Hands, and that could be a really easy straight swap to Jordy Rapana.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. I mean, it's not going to be as explosive and crazy as he was a couple of years back in 2021 when he was younger, where that amazing scoring comes from in 2021, but his average and involvement in tackle breaks do go up at fullback, so I don't mind it as an option. He'll probably sit as your like 18th, maybe 19th man for most of the year, but in those weeks that you need somebody, like when Latrell's on the bye or when Drinkwater's on the bye, he can slot in and you won't really feel too bad about it. There's probably only one other guy who I'd consider along with Rapana in that price bracket. So yeah, I don't mind Rapana.
Who else would you be looking at?
I don't mind Jaden Campbell.
Yeah. Awesome. We'll get to him in a second. We'll throw Carraz up there as well. Obviously had the bye last week, and their matchups are Knights, Canberra, Manly, and Titans. So pretty nice on that front. If you do want to probably get a little bit more consistency, I'd imagine, with Carraz. Campbell we'll speak about in a sec when we pop him up, but there's a little bit of a worry on if Brimson can come back. So I think the consistency award goes to Carraz here, and for 4 rounds you can expect somewhere around that 40 to 60 pretty regularly. So yeah, you still suggest him as a buy if you need the wing fullback?
Yeah, I've just looked at his last couple of scores and was surprised that they were that consistently high. Yeah, I'd seen a couple of them, but I didn't realize he'd done it week to week. So yeah, solid option as well.
Yeah, he's getting the same run meters at centre, but obviously gets a few tackles and is able to, when he finds he's getting the ball a little bit more, and he can either pass and get the line assist or go himself and get the breaks and the offloads from there. So yeah, he's been really, really cool. Where is Campbell? We'll get to him. There he is, 494k for Jaden Campbell. So what are your thoughts on him? Obviously with Brimson sniffing around, he has a little bit of a oblique/rib issue, right? And he could be back next week. So thoughts?
Yeah, it's a tough one, and it's a narrative one. You've got to either, one, hope that Brimson doesn't return, or with the Titan season pretty much done, give Campbell some time and Brimson some recovery time, or you have to sort of think that Campbell's trying to win the fullback spot off Brimson, because Brimson did get named and play a bit at centre the other day with Campbell playing fullback, which is quite interesting. That might tend you to make you think that Campbell's having a go at the spot and will
Mm,
keep that for the rest of the season and have a go there. But he does have a couple of really tough games with Penrith and Melbourne as well. But I mean, we know what he does when he's on the pitch. He's very quick. He's loves the tackle bust and running around. I think that at his price, he's quite appealing, but he does come with the risk. I think he's the highest upside, highest risk out of those three.
definitely. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of interest because he can go massive like he did last week there. So he's the in-betweener. We got a 460 guy, a 490, and a 520 as your three fullback options. So who would have thought we'd have that many mid-range options at this time of the year that can actually do pretty well? How good's Dan Russell been? Gee, I wish I picked him over Jesse Colquhoun.
Oh, yeah, he's just kind of gone from strength to strength, and the Dragons haven't, especially their
Yeah.
forward pack. Bird's completely out again. I think they should just rest him until next year. It's not worth it. The Bellon's suspended. Someone else is missing. Like the Dragons are beaten up and bruised, and like I don't think they're that far from just rolling over and letting the 50s and 60s come. They've been fighting all
They've
right,
done really
and Dan
well.
Russell
Yeah.
has been fighting for them though. So if he can get 45 tackles a game in games where they're getting flattened, he'll continue to do well.
Definitely. Let's go to talk about Wong. So we don't see Egan Butcher come back. Is it just going to be, do you think he'll be back next week? I suppose it's a bit of a guess at this point, isn't it?
Yeah, anyone who misses the mandatory stand down period, if you have anything that goes beyond that, then you've got to question: are they going to be back next week? Are they going to just rest them for the season? Are they going to be 2, 3, 4 weeks? You don't really know with concussion, so it's a tough one for Wong. And look, as a cash down, I don't particularly like it because of that uncertainty.
Mm.
So I don't think you can really go chasing him. If you do have him, like I think you just use him to loop until he's back. And if he doesn't come back, well then, if you're able in the last round or two, you can move him on. If you have some trades.
Yep, definitely. How unfortunate has the Isaac Tungo situation been for those that grabbed him? That's a bit of a pod.
Oh, it's been horrible. You reckon he's redone it? Like it's been 4 weeks for something that wasn't supposed to take that long. I don't know if he's going to come back before finals.
They didn't even say what it was either. That's the main issue. And
Yeah,
and then extended bench last week, rubbed out. That's fine, but then not even close to the team this week. So I personally think he's a sell for that reason. It could be another week, and you might only get him for 2 weeks. And by that point, like he's just a lot of cash sitting on the sidelines. Probably trade him for a position you have a little bit less cover in, if that's possible. Even if it is your last trade, I think I'd probably use it. But yeah, what do you think?
yeah.
It's hard.
I think it's just too much money to not have any
Yeah.
knowing what's happening. Like it's the Wong situation, but 500k more. And for he's 690 something, you can straight swap him to nearly Latrell. Like that could be a very good trade.
Yeah, and it could turn your week around or win you a head-to-head or something like that. So it's so surprising he's sitting there with a negative break even too because of how good he's been going. So 62, 77, and 97 his last 3 games. That's so sad. Hopefully he's okay because I love watching him play. But yeah, I got him in Supercoach, so I'm still trying to work out. I think I'm going to move him on this week in that. But yeah, it's been a painful few weeks, and I know people that grabbed him were like cheering, and then it didn't even do anything in the game. Well, he obviously did in the game, but it wasn't noticeable because he played the full 80. So yeah, painful. Tane Tuapiki, same situation as Wong then for you. We obviously know Chan's is a high chance of coming back next week.
Yeah, look, it's a tough one because he's the first up replacement when anything happens. He's reasonably exciting as a player, and look, the Warriors draw is soft, so if he stayed there, he'd be a good cash down.
Yeah.
But we just don't know that he will. So like, he's not really as appealing as a buy. Like, he's not quite basement. He's under 300k, but he's not like 250, 230.
Yeah.
So all around, there's just tiny little bits that make him not ideal. So I think you probably just look past him.
Yeah. A little bit more expensive, Wade Graham at the moment. So obviously he's taken the spot over Colquhoun, who got the suspension, unfortunately, on my end. He's going to retire at the end of the year. So amazing career for Wade. One of the very skillful back rowers in our game over the last sort of 10 to 15 years as well. So yeah, congrats to him on an awesome season, awesome career, sorry. But even this year, he's kind of, these last few weeks have been really, really important for that Sharks left edge. They haven't actually leaked too many points, and Yeah, high chance that they'll keep him there, right, for the rest of the year with a close to 80-minute role. Is he all right for you as a cash down?
Yeah, like if he's going to continue playing really good minutes, although he's not a PPM beast by any
No.
means, if he's going to continue that, he'll do you a job. He'll score you a 30 at 300k and be somebody who might be a 17th man in a week where you're down a few players. And look, that's not the worst.
Yep. All right. Payne Haas, let's get us up a couple of top dogs. We'll go Haas and Carrigan. Very upsetting watching for myself for both of them, and almost picked Carrigan last week, but the buy kind of cooked me, and that's probably the same situation this week, right? If you're looking at those two players, just that buy next week, would you purchase any of those two for the last 3 out of the 4 weeks?
No, I think I'd wait, and I would look. There's a world where you trade Murray to Haas in round 26.
Okay. If you have the trades, yeah.
But I don't know if you buy him now straight away. I'd rather get like whoever you don't have out of like Yo, Horsburgh, like even Yo, they might get rested last round. So it's not the most slam dunk situation, is it?
For any of them, no, that's right. Yeah, it's a tough one. The Carrigan as well, the 804. Yeah, just obviously 2 tries in a row is giving him the inflated stats, but man, he's good to watch. He might price himself out for next year if he keeps going like this, but he's someone that I'm probably going to look to try and start with next year. I think he gets better and better every year at the moment. All right, so Isaiah Yo as well. So you said, yeah, just there's obviously that slight worry in round 27, but I don't know if you have multiple trades, he's one of the guys you want as well. Hey, you obviously get the next 3 weeks minimum out of him, and then see what happens last week.
Yeah, he's a little more highly owned than I suspected, actually. Like he's owned by about a third of the players in the top sort of teams. I thought he'd be a lot lower.
It was 170
he's
last week in the top 1,000, 170 people, I think.
Yeah, wow, that would have been the Jack DeBellin effect, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's just one of those guys that will consistently knock out a 60 or like a 55 to a 75 every week. Like he's not going to go bigger like Payne Haas as much, but he's going to just knock out those scores and grind you towards head-to-head wins and just consistency all around. I think if you measured the standard deviation and the variation in his statistics this year, he'd be pretty much like the lowest variation. It's absolutely insane how consistent he is.
Yeah, and he's just another one to look at it. Depending on how the buy situation ends up, he could be a great one to start with as well, just to plug him in and not have to worry about it, because that's the biggest thing at the start of the year, that variation at the start, and you end up selling, someone gets a 45 and a 50 and you're like, sell, and then they come out and just get back to their grade average. So that's one thing you don't have to worry about with that man for sure. Reece Robson is one of those guys on the sell list as well with their buy. What are your thoughts on this? Because obviously most of us aren't going to have hooker cover. Would you just hold him for that reason because he's cheaper, or if you have enough trades, just yeet him now, get rid of him?
Oh, it's a tough situation, hey, because I mean, every week that he looks like he might do all right, something happens. So 1 week it's low tackles, 1 week he gets a couple of penalties, 1 week it's this, and last week it was 11 missed tackles versus the Broncos. So hookers just haven't been great this year. So I think you can probably move him on and go with Harry Grant as your one and only, and just fix it if something does go wrong. So I think that he's not really a valuable addition to anyone's team anymore. It's just that he's fallen so far. It's like, do you bother at this point?
Yeah, he hasn't hit. He's hit over 50, round 14.
Wow.
And he was a 60 guy last year for the second half of the year. 53 or something the first half. So yeah, down to 566k. Who would have thought, eh? Who would have thought? Mo Fotuaika is on the sell list as well, obviously after his send-off and suspended for a week. If you own him, would you be holding him?
I think it depends on your depth in mids, because he only got 1 week, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a tough one, because Tino and Jolliffe come back, which does hurt his potential minutes. The reason why he suddenly turned into a fantasy beast was because Jolliffe tore his pec, and he went from like 40 to 45 minutes all the way up to like those 50s and 60s and that like mid 50s average. So look, I think if it wasn't for those two returning, you could hold, but he might be like a high 40s guy from now on instead of a mid 50s guy. So you can probably sell while you have the chance.
Yeah, well, maybe we give him a little parameter. Maybe 2+ trades you can trade. One, probably
Yep.
hold.
Sounds about right.
Bradman
Yep.
Best, probably the same deal with Bradman. 2+ trades you could move on. Otherwise, just hold because they're only out a week. It sounds like there could be another one, I suppose, with the groin strain, a low grade groin strain.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, yeah, he's not very highly owned anyway. That's fine. But yeah, same rules apply. Joey Lussick this week. How do you think he, from a Parramatta fan's perspective, how do you think he played? Do you think he'll get sort of 60+ minutes with Hands on the bench? Maybe. I suppose Hands could drop off as well. Yeah, would you still look at him as a potential hooker cover buy or avoiding now with Hands on the bench?
Yeah, and probably not now that he's 400k, not playing 80 minutes, and is an eel who misses round 27. Like, when you put it like that, plus Broncos and Penrith coming up, it just doesn't seem like a great anything, does he? Not a great cash down, not a great scorer, I don't think he's really an option at this point now with Hands coming back.
If he was 80 minutes, you'd definitely look at it, which is what we were thinking about, but yeah. Another potential cash down, and it looks like they're going to need him to play good minutes. There is Ben Trebojevic at 233k. They've dropped Kelma Tuolangi to the bench, but what do we think about this one? He was obviously the big purchase in round 12 it was, and then ended up getting the hamstring injury. He's had a few this year. Is that a big worry for you?
Yeah, I think it is. Like, there's a couple of types of injuries that are ones that you can re-injure easily, like calves. We've had a lot of calf injuries extend out. Look no further than Latrell Mitchell. There are certain ones that you aren't really that injury prone, but there are some players with some injuries, like Turbo and Verbo, that just have a disposition towards that one type of repeated injury. And so, look, with only a few rounds left, you can potentially risk it. I mean, it could be Burbo season again. He might trap you again and go down injured in 2 games, or he could do all right. It's a bit like the Cheese situation. You've either bought him 3 times or you've never had him.
Exactly. A couple more to go now. We've just got Chance. Actually, just Chance to go. Thoughts on him at 506? Obviously missing this one. Is he just a guy just to keep as your wing fullback cover? Or again, is it like if you have 2+ trades, you could move him on to the Carraz, the Campbell, the Rapiner kind of situation?
I think this is the toughest decision of the week, pretty much. It's really hard because on the one hand, this is his 3rd concussion for the year. But in the past, he hasn't had as badly as guys that are prone to it. So like Kalen Ponga.
Yeah.
But, like, the Warriors' draw is so good that you probably don't want to sell in case he does come back. It's tough, though. If Drinkwater wasn't on the buy, I'd say 100% hold. But if you've got Chance and Drinkwater missing this week, I think you do have to sell one or probably risk playing someone who scores you 25 or 30. So...
Yeah, you probably have to sell one, likely. Like, you wouldn't have the cover.
If you have, like, 1 or 2 trades... You'd probably have to sell one of them if you have both.
Yeah, it's probably the right play. And that's a good thing. At least with him, there is some options around that price, which is cool. Hopefully, you have the extra 20, or you can just straight swap for the other 2. Would be cool. So, yeah, good luck to everyone for this week. We've got the big match up, myself and Scoop. I hope you guys are following along on the rankings there, considering we are right up there, which is very, very cool that we have both of us in the top 100, and a lot of podcasters are doing really, really well this year. So hope you've taken a fair bit of the advice. I know in the private group we've got Maddie up there in like 34th or 35th, which is great. So hopefully we can get a couple of us into that top 50 now that you're firmly in the top 100, Scoop.
Yeah, well, I'm about 3 points off 100, so hopefully I can use these extra trades to my advantage.
That's the thing, you got the trade, so yeah, I think you should firmly keep yourself in that top 100 now, which is very, very cool. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a good week.